Welcome back, folks, to the Faceoff Sports Network. My name is Michael Hoff, and right now we are going to get into why Bijan Robinson, the RB3 from last season, will be your RB1 this year. Now, I get it. It's not a bold statement saying RB3 will be the RB1, but when people are as hyped about Saquon Barkley as they are, understandably so, given what he did last year, it is fair to question it. But I'm going to tell you why Bijan Robinson will be your number one back in fantasy football this year. Feel free to chime in on the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Would love to interact with you guys. But let's just jump into this here. And I don't think we can discuss why Bijan Robinson will be the RB1 in fantasy football without discussing what he did last year. Again, RB3. Bijan Robinson was one of two running backs, along with Jahmyr Gibbs, to score 10 or more points in 100% of his games. Here's another thing. Bijan Robinson was the only running back in fantasy football to have double-digit games with 20 or more points scored. He did not have a game with 20 or more points up until week 6. So not only did he deliver in terms of being the best running back in delivering 20-point games, he gave everybody a head start and didn't even start doing it until week 6. So that's another thing to keep an eye on here. Loving that. Other thing, Bijan Robinson was one of just 4 running backs to have 60% of the team's rushing attempts. Yep, listen, I don't care if it's low-hanging fruit or not. We're all looking at this guy, Walter Smith. Thank you, Walter. Thanks for the memories. But Bijan Robinson now, 60% of the carries. He's getting targeted, and he's only 23 years old. So we don't have to really say, well, we got to look out for the age. Can he really endure another year of that many touches? Spoiler alert, I'm getting to one running back about that. But Bijan Robinson is definitely a player in which I could see him getting that many touches. He was also top 5 in terms of rushes of over 10 yards or more with 34. And by the way, he doubled his games with 100 total yards from 6 in his rookie year to 12. So that gives you a little perspective in terms of, hey, if he's not running the ball a ton, he's still effective enough in the passing game where he's still delivering over 100 total yards, again, in over double-digit games. So that's another reason to love Bijan Robinson coming up in this fantasy football season. He also finished as a top 12 running back in 58.8% of his games. That was tied for second with Jahmyr Gibbs. The man in front of him was obviously, of course, Mr. Saquon Barkley. Here's what we do here. Again, I already mentioned he's 23 years old. Grain of salt spot here. I get it. Some of you are going to roll your eyes. Just go with me here for a hot second. He does have the second easiest schedule in terms of running backs coming up here in 2025. Now, when I say that, though, that's the kind of stat where we look at it for the first few weeks, especially once the schedule comes out. Who are the first few opponents? Did they make improvements defensively? And then you go based upon that. After the first few weeks, you kind of got to throw that out, and then you got to kind of look at what's getting thrown in front of you each and every single week. But that's the kind of stat where it requires more looking into than just this is what it was. So keep that in mind. But again, the second easiest schedule in terms of running backs. Now, let's get into some of the competition. We've got Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley had 482 total touches, including the playoffs. I don't think we can just say he's going to replicate that. This is a running back who's getting a little bit older. He's not the same age as Bijan Robinson. He's also had more significant injuries than Bijan Robinson. So I think it's fair to question, can Saquon Barkley do that again? He could still be amazing for fantasy. He could still be top 3. He just might not get that many touches. Maybe that helps out the A.J. Brown camp. Then we go to another running back who, listen, I have the utmost confidence in Saquon Barkley returning fantasy value, of course. Another man, Mr. Derrick Henry. Here's the thing, and we're at the point here in Derrick Henry's career where we're just going to say outrunning father time for how long? Everybody thought he's running out of gas in Tennessee. He shows up in Baltimore. Spoiler alert, he did not run out of gas. He was actually quite effective. So, but I see a better avenue for him to get a lot of the same action that he was getting, especially because I don't believe in the wide receivers right now there in Baltimore. If you want to get hot and bothered about DeAndre Hopkins, I've got a bridge I'd like to sell you after you're done watching this. The next running back we need to look at here is Christian McCaffrey. Can he stay healthy? That's the thing. This is a guy in a lot of these best ball drafts. He's maybe going at the end of the first round, most definitely second round. I don't see him squeaking into the third round, but be that as it may, there's a cause for concern there with drafters already in best ball, and I think it's fair to note. I don't know if I could trust Christian McCaffrey, especially if I'm looking at my first running back on my team, and I can go ahead and I can get a Bijan Robinson. I would much rather bank on him finishing as the RB1. I think Christian McCaffrey bounces back. I think he does well. I think the Niners need to monitor his touches, but that is something that needs to be looked at. Another player we'll look at who should have the potential to finish as an RB1, did have it last year. He was one of the top 3 running backs drafted, and that's Mr. Breece Hall of the New York Football Jets. Right now, we hear stuff from Aaron Glenn talking about potential running back by committee. We've heard trade rumors. Now, I'll say this about all the stuff with Breece Hall. I don't think he's going to get traded. I think he is a New York Jet in the 2025 season. I will just say, you look at his touches last year, he had over 50% of the team's rushing attempts. So even if they run other players a little bit more, I don't think that's going to crush his value, but it will crush his value enough where he will not be the RB1. The last player, and if you're not talking about Saquon Barkley, you're talking about this player, and it's Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. And, here's the thing. This could be nothing, but it could be something. It's life without Ben Johnson. What does that look like? I think we're all kind of looking at that in terms of the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown will get his targets, but what is that offense going to look like? Will it be as seamless with a Jahmyr Gibbs? And the other big thing to look at here with Jahmyr Gibbs, people don't realize this. He finished as the RB1 last year, not Saquon Barkley, in PPR formats. We haven't seen a running back produce back-to-back years being the RB1. You'd have to go all the way back to 2003 with Priest Holmes, 2002, 2003. We also haven't seen more than one running back repeat as a top 3 running back since 2018. You look at some of these numbers here. Again, last year, we've got it, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. The year prior, Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne. 2022, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs. So that's where we see McCaffrey sneak in there. But again, the year in which we saw running backs repeat would have been back in 2018. From the 2019-2018 season, Todd Gurley squeaking in, Christian McCaffrey squeaking in. So I don't love the idea of Jahmyr Gibbs. Just one of the biggest indicators of the future is what's happened in the past. So I'm not telling you Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be terrible. What I'm telling you is I don't think he's going to finish as the RB1. I think it's going to be Bijan Robinson. He's got all the tools. And even, by the way, when he was playing with Michael Penix, in case that's something that you're worried about, he was still producing games of 20 or more points. Remember, I mentioned that stat after week 6. Well, starting from week 6, he had double-digit games of 20 or more points scored. Kirk Cousins wasn't there that whole time. Michael Penix was there. So if any of you are worried about vulturing of touchdowns or taking away from rushing yards, I don't think Penix will have that huge of an effect, especially in his first full year as a starter. So again, Bijan Robinson is my RB1 headed in to the 2025 season. Feel free to comment. Feel free to like. Let's discuss it below, folks. Would love to interact. But until next time, stay thirsty. Be kind to one another. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.